advertisement of bids for the 2014 municipal improvement project, Mill Street Reconstruction Project, contingent upon approval of same by the Minnesota Highway Department. Otomo Engineering and Mr. Copley will be present to provide project updates and answer questions. See attached resolutions. Go ahead, Josh.
So, many of you guys are aware, we've sent in, you guys have seen the timeline as far as where we are to get to the start of construction. Right now, we are still in the process of getting final review from the central office up in St. Paul. And pretty much we've gotten back most of their comments, and there's just been minor changes to the plans that don't really affect too much, just tweaks here and there. And then the last thing that needs to go in is their front-end documents into the specifications that just kind of detail their contracts with the city and also their prevailing wage rates that will be in there as well. This step that we're doing here is just another, what's the word for it, but just keep moving along with the process, getting it approved, and then we can move on to getting involved with the assessment process later at the end of the year after the project is done. And then also this helps us go along with submitting our information to the PFA as well. So, just a routine step for the project.
Late last week I got the copies of the agreement that they want signed, but we're holding off. We're going to review those before we bring them in front of the council. There's still plenty of time for that to get done as well. We'll schedule Mike Lubani to come in maybe probably sometime in April and go through the process for the bond sales while we're waiting for the bids to come back. And then once we know what the final bid numbers are, we can make our final decision at that point.
What has been the trend on the bidding, the cost associated with these projects recently?
Well, we haven't seen anything come through the bids that has been quite like this kind of project, so we haven't really got a good idea yet of what the bids are coming in for a project like this yet.
Do you know how Spring Grove came through based upon their engineer's estimate?
I don't know exactly how they.
We should find out what that was. Since we got the engineers from WHKS, they should be able to tell us if they were.
Yeah, and it's a different project in Spring Grove, but yeah, we can take a look at that.
It's at least something we can look at.
And there's gonna be put in the bid to have like one group work 7.
We can't put that in the bid, but
Oh.
it's something that we can lean on the contractor to do in our pre-construction meetings, which we're.
If you look at the process on how you're gonna put it out for bid, you wanna do that first. Once you select your contractor, then those questions can be asked of the contractor. You can put it with the contractor to ask them to have enough men to do multiple sections at one time. But you put it out for bid that way as a written spec, it's just gonna cost you a lot more money.
I think it raises a very fair point, though. Could you not take even if it's a little bit of a higher bid, if the company can get the work done quicker, because they have more people, or they use a technique that another firm won't? Because I would think that it would be of interest to the city to get it done as quickly as possible.
That does work in large projects, and this is, for us, it's a very large project. The projects you're talking about are,
Right.
Very, very large.
Yeah. Like the I-35 bridge.
Right.
They got paid extra to get it done
Right.
faster.
I think there's another entity here with MnDOT, because they also have to approve of all the bid and bid documents that go along with it. So even after the bids are accepted from the contractors, you still gotta go through their approval process as well.
But we are gonna do a pre-bid meeting, where we're gonna invite companies to come in that might bid on the project and give them a briefing on it. And that's been found to lower the bids, because they're more informed when they're writing them up.
You know what the expectations are.
And so we can stress things like that speed is of a concern for us, getting the project done on time.
like Spring Grove, I think they got stretched out unbelievable.
That's because they only have one road in town.
Right.
They were much more limited, even with their local traffic, they only had one road that went through the center of town, where the local traffic here will be able to get around much more easier than the Spring Road, so.
And they had a very wet spring.
Yeah, but Spring Grove's got, there's a couple, 3 different ways of getting out of there.
Yeah.
In, to the south, to the north.
Yeah, I just think no matter, the areas that they were tearing up were kind of the center focal point of everything for that town, and there was no other ifs, ands, or buts around getting around those intersections too, some of them.
It's not the small pickup truck, it's the semis. That detour was not friendly to semis.
Neither will ours.
And then the possibility of, through the bid process, the possibility of utilizing Jeff's experience and being able to pull out certain parts of the, you know, the materials or whatever that maybe aren't of any interest, or are so slim that the contractor just says, yeah, go ahead and get the stuff,
Sure,
we'll put
we've
it in.
done a lot of.
Because
a
it
lot of-
meets the specifications.
Correct, yeah, we've done a lot of valued engineering during projects to lower the cost of the end overall project.
Cause I think we could probably plants, you know, or trees, replacement trees.
Yeah,
I
one thing
think
we
we
did,
could probably value engineer quite a
we
bit
did
of
that
cost on
now,
those.
we learned a little bit from Spring Grove's mistakes, and, we pulled the trees out of this project, and those will be removed by others. We pulled the electrical out of this project, and that will be done by others. And, a lot of these, things that don't seem like they're really that much, they can be $500 a tree, and you start looking at how many trees, so we don't need to spend that money on this project.
Yeah,
The
that's
difficulty, especially the electrical, is the coordination, because we can't hold the main contractor up because our electrical guys can't get in and move the power out of the way.
Right.
So,
The good thing about the electrical though is you've got the contractor's gonna do all the underground, and then you've got the, street contractor, that's probably gonna be done, is gonna come in and do curb and gutter. When they do that, then we get an opportunity just to get our wire in place and get things,
Right.
our stuff in place. And they're, I don't know why, but they always wait till the last minute to get the blacktop down before the snow flies.
I'm just saying that we don't want the street contractor to come back and say, I can't do my work tomorrow because
Right.
your conduit is still in there and you gotta get it out.
Right.
So that's where it's gonna take some really good coordination between you two, whoever else is, you know, is helping us from WHKS, and then the general contractor. Make sure good meeting of the minds, you know, meetings during the week, good open communication. Because if we have a breakdown of communication, things are gonna come to a stop, and we can't let that happen.
So if they're going to wait, like you said, till the last minute to get the blacktop down, at some point, that should be passable as a gravel road?
Yeah, that'd be gravel, yeah.
Kinda like those years on that, yeah.
That
Why
helps
did-
the packet
why
that
did
way
it till
too.
last
And then
minute?
we'll have say too, because once you get that gravel in place and the road goes back open, and before the blacktop comes, then we can say, all right, we want you to have one lane closure only, and keep it open.